What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome back to the College COD League here in week 5 of the 2021 season. My name is Cam Burt, joined by the luscious Hold Shift over here. And Alan, I wanted to get this opportunity now that we're on stream to ask, what is the secret behind the luscious beard you got there? Is there some kind of shampoo? Like for a baby faced kid like me, how can I get the facial hair that you have?
There are things out there. I do have a beard grooming kit. I've got some oil, I've got a beard balm, and then I've got my brush and a comb combo that I've got going on over here. But I hate to disappoint you so early on in the broadcast there, Cam. Some people, it's kind of like that Maybelline commercial. Maybe she's born with it, maybe it's Maybelline. It's kind of like the same thing. Sometimes you're just born with the blessing of the beard. And well, you're not being injected with whatever Miles's beard is being injected with from that skit that he had earlier. So I can't make any promises, but there are things out there. It's kind of like a Rogaine for beard. You could probably look into it.
Maybe I'll grow into it. That's what I have my hopes up, fingers crossed. But we got a great match or set of matches again here tonight in week 5. We'll go down the schedule here. Liberty Navy and High Point University Purple will be the first one here on the Alpha stream. Coming up after this, KSU Black, UTK Orange. And then to finish things off, Alan and myself will be back with you for Miami and North Kentucky Gold. It's really going to be a good slew of matches here on the Alpha stream tonight, Alan. And I think this first one falls right into that category, right? We have 2 of the top tier teams in this division, an undefeated squad in High Point, and then Liberty, kind of the underdog here, 7-1. 3 checkmates to start, so I hope everybody out there likes the plane. But what are you kind of expecting out of this matchup?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. This division was one that I think a lot of people had their eye on because we just didn't know what to expect coming out of here. High Point did not win a single match last year, and now they're undefeated. They've only dropped 3 maps. Like, what's in the water? Like, hello, can I get some of that? And for Liberty Navy, they've played very, very solid all the way through. The only loss that they have had so far was versus Old Dominion, who came out looking really, really strong at the beginning of the season. They've ran into a handful of hiccups, and since that loss, this Liberty Navy team has been nearly flawless. There was a map 5 they had versus JCSU. Both teams actually, I believe, had a map 5 versus that school in specific. So there are some things to be taken away from what they able to offer as a team that's looking to get in towards that second split. But regardless of the fact, Liberty Navy has been playing very solid Call of Duty lately, and well, they're going to be tested pretty highly here, and that's weird to say because we never would have expected that High Point would be at a place where they're undefeated this late on to the first split.
You said it. I mean, that is incredible stuff, right? High Point last year, struggling to pick up any wins, and then all of a sudden this year, they're playing with a chip on their shoulders, 9-0 to this point. And I mentioned checkmate will be our first 3 maps. If we look at the records here for Hard Point, High Point 2-1 on the map and mode. Liberty yet to play a checkmate Hard Point, so could be looking at some unexpected plays, I guess, out of Liberty. What does that kind of tell you, or what do you might be looking for, knowing that Liberty hasn't played this map and mode yet?
Yeah, for Liberty, it's just going to be down to how much rehearsal do they actually have because this map is very difficult. And I can actually, I think, combine the fact that Liberty has not played this map with the same storylines of maybe why has High Point lost the one instance that they did. This map can swing pretty quickly for not controlling spawns as you make your way through, especially after point 2, getting through the bottom of the plane, going over to containers. Can you get yourself set up for wood? I'm really looking at that yellow containers hard point and that wood hard point, just kind of the basics of it. Can you do a nice job of getting a good setup and hold that setup to try to milk out every single second that you possibly can? Because at this level, that might be win condition overall. We're not going to be getting the same stuff that we get from like Optic Chicago, where they're finding 55 seconds on the third hill. Don't expect to see that. But I think largely, if you can be more dominant on those money hills, you should be able to find yourself in a pretty powerful position.
We'll have to pay attention to it over there at P2, but we're getting into things here on the first point. The contest coming in early on here, and just to take a look at the rosters real quick for Liberty Navy, Simpaha, Bean, I'm sorry, that's Freak, not Freck. Have to make sure I keep that one in mind. And then Dewey over there filling things out. And then for HPU Purple, you got Kearns, Sexton, Brewing, and Free. As this first hard point already going in favor of Liberty here with the first 15 seconds in hand. But you mentioned it there at the start, Alan, it's very important to get the rotations to P2 so early, it feels like here in P1, more so than a lot of other hills.
And for Liberty Navy, you go through the roster. The two that you need to keep your eye on here for this hard point is Sampaha and Dewey. Both of them over a 1.7 overall KD when it comes to the hard point thus far. And you're seeing some of why, as Sampaha has yet to fall. 4 straight kills, 4-0, and a perfect hold so far for Liberty Navy, who don't just have every single second generated on the first hard point. They're also ready to go for this second.
So far, the slaying power there for Liberty Navy, and Simpaha still on a 4-kill streak, playing the initial time. He's got a contest coming through, a player pinching from his other side. That's going to leave him in the dust, and it looks like HPU Purple are able to get this flip for P2. That's going to be a good chance for them to start to come back into this game, as Liberty Navy have already built themselves a solid 30-point lead. Bean, though, continuing to push through front, not willing to give up any of this time. He's going to die to Kearns. Trades back and forth. Still, though, High Point able to hold on to the spawns for P2, trying to get the second half.
Look, it's not the sexiest break that we've ever seen, but it's actually not bad whatsoever for HPU. You get into the back, you flip the spawns around, and you can contest for the large majority of about 30 seconds worth of time. That's all pretty solid. So one of the big frame-ups that we had from the beginning, could Liberty Navy, in this instance specifically, get set up and hold for a potential full 60 on a key hard point? The answer is no. And because of that, High Point right back in this game, just down a couple of points.
Talk about how Liberty Navy playing this map and mode for the first time in the CCL this season. So far, they jump off to that early lead, but now here come High Point Purple as we rotate to P3. It gets a little bit more mixy here. Sexton, though, picking up the first kill and able to grab some control for the time being. Here comes the flood from Liberty Navy, though. 2 kills in favor in the feed. Bean's going to grab another. One more player to deal with. That will be all set. Can they read the spawns now, though, as they get the clean sweep? You see it, the spawns coming through at P2. All 4 players starting to funnel out. You got 6 there on your minimap, trying to maybe rotate around to get a flip as we start to look towards P4 in the second half of P3. But it's really been pretty neck and neck after Liberty jump off to that early lead. High Point able to stabilize things, and they're right in this contest.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, for Liberty Navy, I think you would have liked to have gotten a bit more of a spawn trap for HPU. But to be fair, High Point did a really nice job of making sure that that was not able to be established against them. So, yeah, Liberty Navy do a better job here in the third hard point than High Point have so far. But as we rotate over to the containers, this is going to be a lot of open space for HPU to make their next move. Seeing as you're getting a bunch of split spawns all across the map, you need to try to utilize this to surprise Liberty Navy as much as possible, but potentially easier said than done. Dewey's on 3 in a row, and again, I told you to keep an eye on Simpaha. He's already 12-6. Now above that, double KDs for now for a couple of members for the side of Liberty Navy.
Yeah, and keeping an eye on just the slaying in general. You look at High Point right now, nobody in the negative, or in the positive department, I should say. Everybody on Liberty Navy, though, putting things together, and now everybody positive. Playing continues to come through as the score continues to come through as well. Still here on P4, and it's just Dewey on the point, laying down the bodies up to a 7-kill streak. That's going to be good enough for an artillery. Player coming onto the front and Brewing with a nice little spot there to get the kill. Unable to grab the second. Contest still going on. And how about the kills from Freak? Those 2 kills will be good for the final 15 seconds of that. Hills, we make the rotation over here to P5, where it becomes so important to get that back spawn free. Able to grab 1 kill on rotation. That's a good start, but you have number 2 there for Liberty Navy, who will fall. So the spawns are going to be flipped here for High Point. That's a good sign as we get set for P5.
Yeah, the Panthers are, again, they're staying scrappy, but this is the one moment that you need to see them start to dominate. You've got the initial rotation locked up. You're able to kind of read exactly how Liberty Navy want to play up against you. You got to be able to zone this hard point. And so far, so good. First hit attempt for the back of the spawns for Liberty Navy has been denied. So now if you have an opportunity for High Point to kind of zone up the map, Freeze making that play through the middle, he finds himself a couple of kills. Decent help coming in from Kearns, but really not all that required. A number of ARs are locking down the lane in the first 30 seconds. Good for the Panthers of High Point.
Very solid hold right now for the Panthers, starting to bring themselves back in this game yet again. It feels like they're just playing that cat and mouse, chasing after Liberty here after a couple solid holds, but this is looking like a solid 60-second hold until the spawns flip there in the final moments. Kearns is going to be in an important spot. He will fall. The final 10 seconds should go to Liberty Navy as we set up for our next set of rotations free in an important spot, picking up kills top lane. He's got a teammate in support. That's Brewing finding one as well. The kills coming in favor of High Point here as they make this control in the top of the plane happen. And now they're trying to inch their way back into this game after a solid hold there on P5.
Yeah, the tempo of giving up the back spawns for P5 in order to gain control of the plane was actually really nice. The one thing, if I'm going to be nitpicky, was the fact that the Panthers just all huddled up inside the plane, and they weren't trying to keep Liberty Navy spawning behind P5. And that leads to another situation here for Liberty to where they're going to have a bit of a split spawn situation, including a couple of members over towards the eventual second hard point. So good, not great for High Point. They are right back into this game, and the other fortunate thing is the fact that that Brewing is on 7 in a row, 16 and 12 overall. Freak, the last player left. He also drops, and full streaks have been earned for the Panthers.
That is huge. Full streaks in hands of Brewing right now, and he's not done here. He's going to go for 9 on this streak, and I believe both teams now holding on to a couple of streaks in their back pocket that could come in detrimental later in the game, although Checkmate maybe not necessarily the best map for streaks. Definitely can still see them come out as the rotation again here to P2 becomes so important. And you got number 8 who thinks he has the spawns held, but the spawn out in the back from Bean, is he going to capitalize? He will. And that is unfortunate for Liberty Navy. Now all of a sudden, High Point in a good position here to get a hold going on P2.
Yeah, the trades were actually decent enough. I was about to be pretty critical of Bruin. Like, bro, you've already got your streak. Stop playing for the big, huge kill spree. Just get involved. Make sure that your team is winning the rotation. But the trades do favor the Panthers. So now Kern's inside the hard point, has to respond. Liberty Navy on their break attempt from the front has actually been pretty successful. It does result in a spawn out, but still a 2v2 to determine who actually wins this hard point.
2v2 is right, and Simpaha making the snap to get that first kill. So the control here is going to be in favor of Liberty Navy. 20 seconds left on this point. Kern's trying to make a contest. He will fall as well. The slaying power still in favor of Liberty Navy right now, but you look at the lead, it's all of a sudden gone back in favor of High Point. It's back and forth really this whole time. It's been very tightly contested. It's exactly what you want to see here in Week 5 of College COD. Both of these teams just battling it out as we make another rotation to P3, and this is when it gets pretty mixy. Nobody on the point just yet, trying to play that map control before they get on the point.
Yeah, both teams have been impressive. Every time there's an opportunity in front of them when they're finding themselves in a bad situation, you see a team starting to take control of that. Like, for instance, the High Point situation where you've got a little bit of a 2v2 in that old time. Do we really want to commit to sending more numbers to it? Not really. Let's just get a good setup here for P3. So you're giving away 6 of one thing, but gaining 6 of another, essentially, is what I'm looking at here for both of these squads. That example specifically for the Panthers, but it's allowed this nice kind of ebb and flow, this back and forth between both teams. And this one might just come down to who makes the clutch decision when we get towards the end, because this is looking like this very well could be a third rotation P2 ending if this keeps up.
Certainly seems like this one could be headed down the wire as they continue to trade kills in the feed free with a couple nice headshots there. Kearns will add one to the kill feed as well, and the lead now up to 30 points here for High Point. All of a sudden, Liberty Navy forced to make a comeback here. Dewey on the initial time is going to fall to Brewing. Freak, though, there for the trade. He will push on to the point and start to soak up some of this time. We see the spawns coming through. It'll be a P2 spawn for High Point as they continue to funnel towards the front of the hill. And still, this point in favor of Liberty. They're doing a good job holding this lead, starting to shrink up. Contest comes through, and now it's a difficult position for Freck. 2 players pushing on, and he's going to fall. Can the trades come through from Bean? One is there, but the second won't be. So all of a sudden, now here comes High Point with a hold on this hill. Still, though, 30 seconds left to battle it out.
Yeah, decision time for Liberty. You've got the P5 spawn set up for you. Looks like Dewey is actually just long anchoring, or maybe there's... I mean, he hasn't moved at all. I'm hoping everything's okay with his setup, but he's not even moving around whatsoever. And I was about to say, for Liberty Navy, you need to decide here how much of this time are you okay giving away in order to make sure you lock down the 5th hill. And yeah, I think their teammates are starting to recognize that there is something wrong with Dewey's setup right now. So definitely keep that in mind. It was about an even game when Dewey stopped moving, so we'll have to keep that in the back of our minds as we get into the late stages here. And while the kills for High Point are good, they do eventually get this breakthrough P5, and they could just win it out right here.
As we see Dewey there with a DC, it's unfortunate this late in the game to have something like that take place, but High Point a chance to close things out on this P5. They've been stringing them together, and the kill streak's coming through for free. He's on a 5. All of a sudden, the slaying department has really started to turn its head. Kern's the one negative player in big fashion for High Point after that start for Liberty Navy, where everybody was positive. Sure, you lose a player in the latter stages here, and it's unfortunate. Looks like High Point's going to hang on to win this match, but it was really a come-from-behind win for High Point after falling behind early.
Yeah, it's a come from behind victory, kind of. Like, it's just this whole match was so back and forth, and yeah, the early advantage tilted in favor of Liberty because they got the 30 seconds on the first hard point, giving away no time whatsoever, and they won the rotation to the front of yellow container. But then High Point get a nice solid break. We stay scrappy through our 3rd and 4th hills. Then we eventually get over to Wood. It's a 40-20 exchange favoring High Point, and we've got ourselves essentially a dead even affair when everything's all said and done. So, yeah, I will say this much. You know, for 2 teams that I don't believe are ranked in the top 25, this is really, really impressive as far as how they're taking it of certain missed opportunities from their opponents. A couple of opportunities are showing themselves, and both teams are quick to take them in tow and turn it into an advantage from them. It's a really, really nice little ebb and flow. You have to give up some things to gain things elsewhere. Both teams have really executed good decision making so far. So I'm really happy with what I saw there, really largely until we had that unfortunate disconnect.
Finding an opportunity to capitalize and taking advantage of it. That time was High Point Purple. They come out with the map one win, and we turn our attention to a search and destroy. But again, I hope you like the plane because we're going to be still on checkmate for the next two maps. And when you go back to the records here for maps and modes, search and destroy is High Point's specialty. They're 10-0 so far on the season. It's going to be one that Liberty is looking to steal here. Again, they're the underdogs going into this match. And I mean, when you hear that a team is 10-0, Alan, that has to jump off the sheet right away. This one might be tough for Liberty.
Yeah, it's this map overall is just a very difficult map. There's really no other way of saying it. Search and destroy specifically, what we see in the CDL, top level of amateur challengers play. It's just impossible to get to the A bomb site on the attack. There's too many safe angles defensively that you can watch it from literally the other side of the map. I mean, you've got a big, tall tower you can get into, that big kind of tube area. Everything is so easy to stay concealed defensively that if you're the offensive side without smokes, it's very difficult to get a plant off, at least initially for a 4v4. Is there an opportunity for late rotations and maybe 2v2 situations or low numbered odd man situations? Yes, but it's still not common. We see the bomb planted over by A. So you tilt your attention to not necessarily what just happens in the plane, but how can teams actually influence that middle B bomb site also from the outside? ARs looking through those little, not just in the windows, but also on the side of the plane hole as well. That's where I'm looking at specifically. Will we see some of those strategies to try to get the offense underneath the plane and try to contest those spots? Will we just see them try to flood forward? We've seen a little bit of both at the highest level, and I'm interested to see what both of our teams have to offer for us here tonight.
Just got to see how important those power positions were in map one, and it'll be the
Truly.
same thing. You're right. In map two, checkmate, you got to be on that top part of the plane, holding that down. And you're right. B will definitely be the bomb site we're watching and paying attention to. But I think for
Yeah.
Liberty, although you get the DC and obviously you don't get to finish the match how you want to, I think you could kind of maybe turn that into a positive. Like, well, we didn't necessarily really lose. We don't have to feel like we necessarily lost map one because it was an unfortunate circumstance that leads to High Point winning it. So I don't know. I feel like I think if I'm them, I'm trying to turn that into a positive in some way and start to focus on search and destroy. Where I mentioned High Point 10-0, Liberty 7-3 to this point so far, 1-0 on checkmate. That's definitely something, a bit of optimism you could bring into this match as
Sure.
well. But it feels like the slaying power was there for High Point. I mean, they themselves, after speaking with their captain before the match, consider themselves to be search and destroy. Obviously, is their go-to game mode, but they consider themselves to mix things up every single round. I know that on checkmate, that's definitely not so easy. But
No,
we'll have
not
to
at
pay
all.
attention to that if they're trying to mix things up every round. But yeah, you're right. It feels like you kind of have to do the same thing almost every time.
I have gotten to a point here in Cold War where the 6 points on the scoreboard aren't enough. I want to be able to give creativity points to teams when they're trying to make their way through. And to that accord, not only have you mentioned that High Point is 10-0, on average, they're beating people 6-2. I mean, they're smoking teams in search and destroy. So, yeah, I think that if there are a lot of those kind of creative plays that are set in stone, especially in a map like Checkmate, they should be rewarded for it. Because if you can pull off some of those cheeky strategies, it's going to give you such a huge advantage. The mind games that you could play against an opponent like Liberty Navy could be pretty steep because this is an LUA Navy squad that, to be fair, this would be arguably their worst game mode. I say that with a bit of hesitation because, yeah, they're very positive and hard point, but the differential isn't all that convincing. And then also behind that, their search and destroy is not terrible. But again, they have 3 losses and their average is about 5 rounds in their favor and 3 rounds against. So we'll see how things kind of form here. And just to give you the full clarification, the score total was past the restart rule that we have in place in the CCL here. So the map win will go the way of High Point, and they're going to be up 1-0 going into the search and destroy.
Well, maybe we can learn something here from High Point as they find themselves on offense to start. There in white on your mini map, Liberty in blue. First blood already coming through, and it's filling up the kill feed now. All up to Freak here in a 1v3 first round on defense, though, which could give him somewhat of a little bit more of an advantage here. The bomb going down at A, and he might not be ready for this. He's got Brewing just hanging out there by B, going to turn around at the last second and try to wrap this one over as he sees the bomb going down A. Then at the final second, says, never mind, I'm going back into the plane. And I actually think this would probably be the better way to try to make a break, but he's got to go look for a kill here soon.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. You need to clear this plane out before you make a move. It looks like he knows where Kearns is, but not seeing Brewing whatsoever. He's just got such a free angle to stop any kind of a post plant breakdown here. So Freak has got really all the cards stacked against him for this 1v3. Not going to find anything as he tries to make his way forward to the bomb itself. So a decent first round for High Point, and nothing too out of the ordinary, I would say. We were looking for creativity. Nothing too strange, just a little bit of aggression getting to each of the wings, and it does pay off. That first blood at a Dewey largely is a lot of the round for you, because the defense, once you lose that player over by Tetris, if you are going to set up your defense with a player over towards that bottom lane, you have to make sure that there's an ability to lock that down pending you lose your AR that's over there. So seeing that that does happen, High Point just take over too much of the map for Liberty to be able to recollect.
It's a great start. They pick up the first offense. You got Kearns here on a 2-kill streak already. Brewing, oh my, not wasting any time with the aggressive challenge on defense. Sexton says, I'll do the same. That's 2 off the rip. Freak's there for a trade and a second from Freak. Those are crazy shots. So all of a sudden in a 2v2, now goes down to a 1v1, and High Point are able to steal it in the final moments there. That didn't take long.
No, not at all. It's an aggressive play with a Krig for Freak through the back of the plate. And then I thought that Freak was full HP, but I guess I must have misread the situation, because he kills him in a single burst. Regardless of the fact, though, for Liberty Navy, that offense, not in love with it. I mean, Freak is the only shining star, and it's because the SMG pressure eventually gets forward enough. But you saw Dewey's kind of lingering out by the B wing, not really watching anything up close. He was turning his focus to the long range defensive setup, which, to be fair, at that point, he really couldn't afford to. So not really loving that setup for Liberty Navy, but they do find themselves a pretty solid defense here, again, heavily stacked towards the plane.
Now we flip sides at another battle for the positioning up top. Freak taking some shots, but just barely able to sneak away with his life. Now the kills come through, and it's back and forth trades in the feed. 3v3 situation coming through. Bomb still in hand for Kearns. Freak finding another kill, and all of a sudden, they fall like dominoes. Liberty Navy able to grab a round. They do it on defense.
Yeah, again, I love the setup. One of the things that we largely miss when it comes to CCL defensive setups is the ability to play for one another's trades. And that time, they're able to clear zones early. It allows Freak to essentially sit there and say, all right, I'm just going to go rogue a little bit here, see if I can make a push through happen, and just see exactly how High Point are set up. And that ends up becoming the round-winning play, essentially, with those 2 kills at the end from the flank. So, again, like it, Liberty Navy just kind of recollecting themselves, just trying to recover and sit there and say, okay, let's just make sure we're clearing our lanes before we do too much. And once again, this setup where you've got 2 ARs pushing up to the top wing, it's going to isolate Kearns, and that will be good for first blood. Sexton doing what he can for trades, but it's going to result in a 3v2 in favor of Liberty.
It's a non-stop battle for positioning up top, and you're right, the advantage right now in favor of Liberty. Freak maybe trying to get in on the bomb to get something going. Brewing, that's a huge 2-piece with the nade and the M4. All of a sudden leaves it up to Bean here in 1v2. He has been knowledge of where this player is. He's going to get the kill on a Brewing. The second player is just around the corner. He won't be ready for that. So High Point able to play the life advantage there and get the win. Liberty Navy had it for a second there. All of a sudden, this huge play we're seeing in the kill cam from Brewing was what turned it on its head.
Yeah, and again, you can kind of see, I mean, it is what it is, but Freak is up by that bomb site by himself. I mean, when you've got a 3v2 situation like that, I would have loved to have seen Liberty try to get together, kind of reset, and then say, let's just play this whole round out 3v2 and play for the objective. That really wasn't the kill. It's still, or pardon me, that really wasn't the play. They were trying to continue to play for kills. And when you do that, you get caught being maybe a touch overzealous and a bit greedy, and that seemed to be the case there. So back to High Point for their offense. 3-man stack here towards the B wing. And once again, you do have Dewey, who is playing over by Tetris, but this time he's playing it very passively in the back pallet corner.
So rather than working for this positioning up top, maybe try to work something around the right side of the plane. Both teams kind of stalemating over here. A couple ARs looking down. Got Dewey checking the bottom of the plane and Freak throwing some shoulders just to see if any information can be gathered. And nothing doing right now. Both teams just waiting to make that initial push. And Dewey is going to find Sexton, who will make that first move. It's going to cost him all of a sudden 4v3 for the defense. And High Point are going to be looking for a trade here. Free is going to get some good shots onto Dewey. That's going to even things up at 3 apiece. All of a sudden, now the push starts to become for the top of the plane for High Point. But Kearns is going to slide out with his life. And Bean still looking, still hawking for anybody that might try to push through this plane. Freak at the backside, picking one up on Free. Simpaha is going to find another, and it leaves it all into the hands of Brewing.
Don't love the reset there from High Point overall. Tough 1v1. Eventually the trade comes through, but you saw it off the rip. Bomb stayed near the middle towards the wooden stairs to get into the plane. 3 players are putting a lot of their attention down towards that B wing. And after you miss the opportunity for that first blood and you read that Freak is throwing shoulders, that angle is no longer available to you. What you have to be able to read is, okay, we've got a player who's isolated outside, kind of in the front of Tetris, to be honest. Maybe we can try to pick off that isolated kill and then reset for a 3v3. They do that successfully. But then they continue to try to play that B wing spot where you know that Liberty's going to have to be turning some attention that direction because they just lost their solo defender by Tetris. So I don't love the recommitment on that second effort right there from High Point. And largely, again, Liberty, I thought did a nice job kind of picking up their lane. So it puts them in a position to reduce the gap just to a single round. And now it's up to their offense to get something going. But long range shots initially from Kearns finds first blood, and it leaves Liberty Navy on this offense in a 3v4.
I was just getting ready to say that, yeah, they're not letting this one get away just yet. All of a sudden, kills in favor of High Point. It leaves it up to Freak, 7-3 on a 3-kill streak right now, trying to keep it going. We'll have to try to work a plant unless he can play the kills. Over here at the bottom right side of the wing, Brewing might be watching it. Does he spot him? It seems like he does after he puts down some shots. Now Freak trying to react to this and maybe make a read on someone else. Kearns is going to follow him up and get the kill, and High Point go up 4-2. And Alan, I mentioned I was speaking with Kearns before the match and just kind of asking him kind of about what the search and destroy game plan typically is. He told me that they don't often strategize at all too much. It's pretty spontaneous when it comes to the play calls in each round. I feel like we're kind of seeing that here where they come up with stuff on the fly. What do you think about that?
It's not the initial setups, it's what happens after the initial setups. It's when like you're 30 seconds into the round, either you've gotten a first blood or you've been blooded, or maybe it's just still a 4v4, no one's seen anything. What are we going to do next? And it feels like an improv class and kind of an F it, we'll do it live kind of situation where you'll just kind of send someone through and see what they can find. And how about this, though, kind of getting to the other front, talking about Liberty Navy and what they want to do defensively. Double SMG stack through the plane, and they clear it completely, but High Point, they actually have kind of surrounded this, and to be fair, Liberty Navy have no AR support for either of these subs, so they're going to have to play their lives efficiently, and so far, at least one has as we go 3v3 with 50 seconds to play.
So High Point gives up the top of the plane. Now trying to make something happen on the outskirts as another player will fall. Bomb is going to be down over by A, which makes things a little more tricky for the offense. You have Brewing here, just maybe hoping to find a pick. Dewey taking some shots from free. He's able to stay up for the time being, and it's just going to be slowing things down for the defense, letting the offense make the push. As Brewing tries, he will fall to Simpaha on the bomb. And this one should be all but dusted. Never mind. Free says, watch these shots. An unbelievable rip off the head glitch is not going to matter in the end as they fall. Liberty Navy maintaining this lead here. They're keeping themselves in the match, not letting it get too far out.
This is reminding me a lot of like what the hard point looked like. You get into the middle of these rounds and teams are not just improvising, they're trying to essentially take away opportunities from their opponents when they've got numbers, which is exactly what you want to see. And right there, I mean, you get the read that Free is the last player left. He's got to be playing down low by the wing, just deny him the opportunity to play through a rotation. Really good response. So again, the awareness is actually pretty largely high for both of these squads so far. I'm just looking to see at what point in time will someone just try to give a gut check call, do something a little bit more creative, because all that we've seen so far was that double SMG push defensively from Liberty Navy last time. And it looks like this time around, they're going to keep the double 74 use up and see maybe if they can read information towards the potential early B hit. But the problem is no one's actually playing inside. Everyone is watching the wings, and that leads to 3 very early kills. How about the 4th for Free? Not going to happen. It's a 1v3 situation that doesn't get off the ground.
So the high risk, high reward plays don't pay off. Free
Absolutely.
with a really, really good job there closing things down on the top of the plane. We're going to get to see it. This cheeky angle over here on the right side. We'll find Bean. And oh my, this player is locked in. You can see it in those shots.
This is what I like to call the built by gamers strategy. They did this right near the end of their run in the elite stage number 1 for challengers, where there were a handful of rounds that they just did not play inside the plane defensively whatsoever. And as the offense, you're setting up trophies, you're throwing utility, trying to clear off that table, that back heady right by the stairs, and right as well, right by the chairs that are back there. And when you use all that utility, and find no information, you're kind of like, wait a second, what's going on? And then all of a sudden you're getting gunned from angles behind you because all these ARs are watching the cross angles through windows and, again, those gaping holes in the plane hole. So really good stuff overall. Love the creativity, and this time it will actually be Liberty Navy doing something very similar with a long flank from Sabaha coming from behind.
Liberty with their back against the wall here, trying to keep this search and destroy going. They're going to be able to do that. A clean sweep, 4 kills in favor of the Navy squad. And it'd be 5-4 as we switch sides one more time here. And Yeah, you're right. Like they pulled the rug right out from under there in that last round. It's like you might think there's someone home playing defense at B, but instead we're going to be playing this outskirts and picking up those kills, maybe taking a play out of BBG's book. Probably not as we
You
head
never
in.
know.
Yeah, maybe they're studying the VODs. You have to hope they're watching the Hold Shift community stream. I mean, if you're
It,
not, you're sleeping.
that's also the first time that we've seen either an offense or a defense utilize that A lane. Everything has been in or around this plane, and largely it's been focused on the bottom part of this plane. And now finally we're getting kind of an AR battle over towards A, where Free, I have to imagine, has got a Krig in hand. So with that lane cleared out, Bean actually wants to get a little bit aggressive, but is caught maybe just a bit unawares for a moment. And he never actually saw
I was
Sexton. I
going
was
to
about
say,
to say, what is happening? How has nobody seen him? So it results in a 1-for-1, and we go 3v3.
they cross paths for the time being, and then all of a sudden, Sexton will fall. So 3v3. Kern's going to get spotted out with the nade. He's got a couple players in the top of the plane trying to gain control and get this bomb down. Is he going to see it? He will not. Dewey sees him, finds that kill. Freak around the backside will find another, and it's all up to Free here in a 2v1. Putting some shots down on Dewey, and it's not going to connect. So we'll go to a round 11 here, Alan, and I think I mentioned before the game, I asked Kearns, the IGL, the captain for Hyde Point, what happens when you get to around 11 if you guys are kind of an improv style team? He said, well, we don't have to worry about that too much because it hasn't happened yet. Well, here it comes. All of a sudden, you find yourselves in around 11. What's going to happen here as we go into it?
Yeah, I have to imagine that we're still going to get a bunch of just unpredictable plays. You know, the setups for both teams, like I mentioned, they have been a little bit strange. I mean, if you were to compare them to like setups that we see in the CDL, and at a certain point, I sit there and say, there's nothing wrong with copy pasting what you're seeing from some of the best teams right now in Call of Duty when it comes to playing certain search maps. So, how about this? You want some creativity here, Cam? It's going to be a full out hit towards A. They can still cut this back over to B to get on top of the wing. It just comes down to what information do you read with this aggression through this A lane.
They're pulling out all the stops here in round 11. You got the bomb carrier over by A. Sexton, only player up top in the plane, trying to do his best to keep his life up. Freak underneath, hiding by this engine, and everybody at this point just playing a hiding spot. Don't want to be the first one to fall. And the bomb is starting to creep up towards A. You got Simpaha here who could be laying eyes on his first enemy. He's going to get a trade. Second player is going to be home at A. He's not ready for that. Kearns able to pick up that kill and get the life advantage for High Point. But if you're Liberty Navy, you have to start to expect that this is a push towards A. The bomb plant's going to come through, and it's bad timing for Kearns. Dewey's there to check it. He picks up the kill on the bomb carrier, and all of a sudden, bomb down at A in a 2v2 situation. It comes down to Brewing and Sexton versus Bean and Dewey. Sexton's going to find one onto Dewey, and it's all up to Bean here. Knows where the bomb is, though.
This is a brilliant play, though, from High Point. I love that you put the pressure behind because Bean cannot sit on top of this. Bob said he does see information onto one, has to back down, and the 1v2 is coming forward in the next 12 seconds.
Oh my, finds the first kill on a Brewing. Is the plant going to come through from Sexton, or is he going to play the kill? He's chasing after through the crate. The gunfight comes through. High Point Purple are going to hang on to win this one in round 11. Oh my gosh, it all comes down to that. We see it in the kill cam. The gunfight from Sexton gets the sights up onto Bean, and he finds the kill. He goes down to one shot. It couldn't have got any closer than that. But High Point's going to hang on, and they'll go up 2-0.
I love the play, though. I mean, the idea of trying to push through the bottom side of the plane, work yourself around through tube, see if you can isolate this player over by A for an initial kill, and it's great. I would have loved to have seen them continue on that same pathway, but at the end of the day, does not happen. Also does not matter. Round 11 win, and that whole let's just throw it up in the air and see what happens seems to work out just barely enough here for High Point. That puts up to 2-0 in the map count. I mean, again, that checkmate, it did come to a pretty anticlimactic conclusion as we were already past the score limit to force a restart after the unfortunate disconnection from Dewey. I imagine we would have had a down-to-the-wire map there, but regardless, it's High Point of the Panthers that find themselves 2 up before we go to the control.
The improv classes are paying off, apparently, for High Point. Is
that what their specialty is in their university? I don't know. I mean, at this point, I'm starting to think so.
Maybe. And all of a sudden, though, that's a huge win, and it feels like they're in that round 11. It feels like the wind in the sails is not there for Liberty. And I mean, we talk about momentum so often in esports. After you lose a player in map 1, that has to be tough. And then you go to round 11, you go the distance, and they go A on you. High Point pulling out the crazy offensive strategy, and it doesn't work out for Liberty. So I mean, it's going to be tough, I feel like, to turn things around heading into map 3. It's going to be checkmate again. So hopefully no one's getting tired of that just yet. And I mean, it's control, which is, again, we talk about this as being one of the more manageable game types. Strategy, again, definitely comes into play. You have three different winning conditions. You could win off the lives, the time limit, you could capture the point. I mean, oftentimes, too, in a series, right before the sweep or right before the 3-0 happens, you see a team pick up a control. Is this another one of those scenarios you feel like, Alan, where Liberty might be able to hang on and get one more map out of this one?
I definitely will not rule them out. That's for darn sure. Because again, they're looking pretty solid all the way throughout, and their control KDs are all above about a 1.5. So they're able to continue that slaying prowess, not just in the hard point, but here in the second respawn mode of control as well. So if they can find a way to get a couple of nice clean breaks on their offense specifically, that's where a lot of our CCL schools have found success getting not just one zone, but also a second. This is not nearly as independently focused as you see the CDL or top chals play this, because at the end of the day, it does come down to how quick can you find these kills. And when you're dealing with, I won't say a wild card roster overall, but when you're dealing with rosters that are maybe not nearly as fully talented as some of course, those challengers teams and CDL teams, that one player that's having a rough game can be the difference maker overall.
Yeah, and so often we talk about that too, where it's like if you're having a rough game, okay, you're gonna want to try to pick it up, but at the same time, don't throw your life away too much. This is a
Exactly.
game
Yep.
mode where your life and playing it and not dying too many times in a round is really, really important. Like you can hurt your team by dying too much. It doesn't happen in hardpoint because you don't have to worry about the lives, but in
Yep.
control here, you die too much and your teammate's gonna be looking at you like, hey man, it's okay that you're not getting kills, but you can't be throwing your life out like that.
Indeed. But I think we're throwing things to just a small break here before we come into map number 3. So we'll step away for a moment and come back with the control and checkmate right after this.
Folks, welcome back to week 5 of the CCL and this Tuesday night action we got going on. High Point University Purple trying to close it out here in map 3 after the round 11 search and destroy victory. And off the opening break, how about Dewey with the shots onto Brewing? He had a double challenge coming his way, but the kills off the rip in favor of High Point. That'll be 3 down, a chance to maybe push up and grab some map control here.
I love it. High Point do not just immediately aggress onto one side or the other. They're just holding down lanes. 2 ARs, one towards the outer, the north side, one towards the outer lane on the bottom side, and then 2 SMGs in the middle. They're just looking for that early point of contact. And then as soon as they win their gunfights, they make their way forward. 2 ticks of progress have been made at B. And Dewey, meanwhile, he's going to be able to kind of play his life a little while longer, while Simpaha did actually confirm a tick of progress here at A. And it looks like off of the respawn, High Point will commit to trying to finish off this A zone.
Couple ticks already through on both spots. Now, oh my, Freak with the jump shot over at A is going to find one, Bean there for another, and they're already starting to get these points captured here early into this round as A gets a second tick as well. Bean trying to play the front side, knows a player should be coming anytime here, and he's going to find that kill. Free, able to get his trade, and A is all done. B
Wow.
already has 2 ticks. Things looking pretty good for the offense right here as Free continues to go on this spree underneath the plane, trying to hold him off as long as possible. But just 1 tick left. You have 2 minutes, still have plenty of lives to work with. This is looking pretty good for the offense.
I will say this much, though. Liberty Navy have done a nice job kind of recovering the map and getting themselves into a position to be annoying in the back line. Unfortunately, Sexton can only really just live a little bit longer than you would have liked if you're High Point, but he doesn't find any kills. So second tick of progress is here, and the ticks are starting to come pretty quickly with a not quite stacked yet, but High Point are surrounding, and it's going to be down to Liberty to not only clear this zone, but they need to retake the map once more.
Need to retake control of the map, exactly. Don't just want to clear it off as Sexton was able to do that for the time being. Here comes the reinforcements from Bean. He falls as well to an assault rifle player in Kearns. And just like they were doing at the start of the round, Liberty Navy tries to flip it on its head and push out towards those spawns, but Freak able to slow that down for the time being. Now starting to push up through the plane. Has a player to his left to deal with. Not going to be ready for it, and Sexton will get that kill, start to push up again. And so often you see these players find a kill, or the teams find a wave of kills and start to push up, trying to hold down the spawn trap, not letting another team get to the point is typically the key here in control. As we see the lives still in favor of High Point. They have 12, Liberty with 9. Just need 1 tick on this point. It's just going to take a couple kills and a few players stacking it is all you'd expect. Brewing doing a good job for the time being. Now here comes the stack. Dewey finds 2. And if they can get a few players on this point, this should be all she wrote. Free will get Dewey off for the time being. Freak thinking about getting on the point. He will. Final last tick of progress here. You'd think they'd be able to do it. Is this finally the moment? And it looks like it will be. In the final seconds there, and they're up in the lights.
Look, Again, I'm not gonna lie. For the you top 25 voters out there, High Point needs to be more of a serious consideration because they are playing very disciplined Call of Duty. Coming out of that A zone capture, they essentially get wiped. It takes a while, but the trades eventually lean towards Liberty Navy having the map back in their control. And instead of High Point just running out and trying to just get to a power position, they're taking their time and they're clearing lanes, clearing zones, getting the AR set up to where you can sit there and say, okay, we've got this locked down. Get your SMG forward, take over some more ground so the ARs can walk their way forward and have that kind of supplanted and completely pressured from High Point's point of view, and then make the next play that you need to. Very often, I feel like in the CCL, we're seeing teams that, oh yeah, we know we have no map control, but our ARs are just going to go run towards the plane. That has not been a consideration at all for the Panthers, and they're being rewarded for it. So really good discipline overall from HPU to get that final tick of progress they were required on B, but now up to Liberty Navy. They've taken the plane into their control, and they've got a really good look at making life difficult for the defensive High Point.
It's a great point you make. Map control so much more important oftentimes than even getting on the point. As here comes the capture at B. One tick done. A second one should be thereafter as Brewing is able to find 2 kills. Players coming off spawn won't be able to get there in time, and they might be able to get this whole thing in one go if High Point doesn't hustle their buns over to try to stop this capture. Freak is going to be the first one to do it. He finds 2. Free, though, there for the trades, and all he needs to do is clean up Dewey. And this should be enough to get the capture, and nobody really going to be home to defend this one. And my goodness, Free says all these players on the other team are free. He's on a 5-kill streak now, up to 14-7. B, the tougher point of the two, done with. Now all Liberty has to do is focus over by A.
I don't love this play, though. Liberty's trying to take over the map as if to suggest that they want to try to play for spawn kills. But all you have to do is just get a plane wing and just stack the zone. You do have 2 more players that are left alive, and they will have done just enough. Okay, so I was a little bit nervous for a second because you saw Free kind of playing forward, gets under the plane, pushes all the way forward towards High Point spawn, when that's not a required play. All you need to do is get on top of the wing, lock down the lane, let your teammates off respawn, just fly into that A lane, get onto the control point to stack, and you've got a pretty easy capture. But the good news is his teammates were able to pick things up, and it was this final play from Free, the little loop-de-loop around the engine to make sure that he could continue to keep his life and make sure that High Point couldn't clear. Nice offense for offense round so far for both of our teams.
They trade offenses, absolutely, and brace yourselves, but Free running freely around the map right now, 15-8, the 11 objective points we saw in that final kill cam, picking up 4 kills over by B was huge in that round to pick up that point. Now we'll see if a team can grab a defense here as they trade offenses in the first 2. First blood, Sexton there drawing things up top as he tries to push through the plane. Stun check from Simpaha is going to come through. Can he make use of it? Player climbing up onto Great Crate. Freak didn't see him. He's going to fall. Simpaha there for his trade. Brewing here, realizing Simpaha is trying to push up to the spawns. It doesn't matter that he's ready for it because the shots are there. Bean unable to pick this one up at the backside, but his teammates there for support, and this capture at A is going to start to come through. A couple players here to stack it. And if you're Liberty Navy, it's got to start to get some positioning over there. They seem to be giving it up at this point.
It's okay. I mean, if you give this up, as long as you can keep the plane in their control. And I'm not going to lie, Liberty's actually moving a little bit slower than you would normally like to see. Finally, the cross gets some impact onto the zone, but it's just too late. That first tick of progress came in, and you saw High Point just had 2 members that were left on the A zone. Liberty, coming off spawn, had a free plane to take if they so chose to, but I don't know if there was a clear decision as far as, are we chalking or are we going to try to play for a retake? Because no one got up top. Everyone was playing from the low ground, and that's not what you want to see if you're trying to set up, not even just for plane control to get the retake over towards A, but also to make sure that your B zone stays safe, because now you've got Simpaha who's just walking his way forward, taking beverage orders as he goes from passenger to passenger here in the plane. And now you've got a situation where you again have to respond out of your spawn if you're Liberty Navy.
Flight attendant up top wasn't able to find anything at home, so he's going to back up towards B, but the kills here in favor of Liberty Navy as they hold off the point for the time being. You got Free here, who's been on a rampage so far in this one, looking to continue it. Finds Dewey there at the backside. Gonna think about pushing up here and maybe try to play some spawn kills as his teammates help him out here. Sexton finds 2, and this should be an opportunity to play more kills. Free moving up, finds Bean. Gonna back up to play the life. Low health there. Is still taking on the challenges and finding another kill. Someone has to kill Free on the map, and finally they're able to pick it up. 12 lives and 13 lives remaining, so pretty evenly matched here. Still 2 ticks needed at B for the offense and High Point. Simpaha gets some support from Bean. Now they're going to try to make a double hit through the top of the plane. A few players to deal with here. They find Kearns at the top. They trade back and forth in the kill feed. Simpaha might be thinking about getting on B here. Freak at the backside, picking up a kill onto Brewing. And now he's going to try to play some spawn kills of his own.
Yeah, this is a really nice little energy here from HPU. Bean needs to be the SMG player to control the front of the plane, because eventually your ARs should be able to clear some lanes to allow an opportunity to see this B zone be captured, or at least start to make some progress on it. So now Freak has to come through and essentially play from right underneath, make sure that his teammate doesn't get challenged, and he does find 2 kills, Bean a third, and now an opportunity to stack and find some more progress.
This could be the moment right here as there's no more lives remaining for Liberty Navy. They got to make sure they're playing tight and concise here. But the point's starting to come through. You got to get onto it quick to stop the capture. Kearns finds one on the Bean. Dewey looking for his trade. Can't find it. Kearns with 2. Simpaha back and forth in the feed they go. And all of a sudden, they're able to clear off the point. 2v2, 1 life left. And here comes the gunfight. Not going to win it. Brewing all up against Bean here. What's going to happen? The reach out coming through from Brewing. Is Bean ready for it? He is. The shots back and forth. And oh my goodness, it all comes down to the 1v1. Liberty Navy come out on top.
Yeah, it's a couple of moments where both teams are stretching a little bit further than they should be, but it comes down to one last little spree at the end. Neither team really volunteering their time to get into the plane, and there are moments where you're not sure, I think, if you saw that one little route that High Point took where they're just running through the plane. Is this supposed to be a kill house training yard or flight attendant school? Because you're walking right through this lane without any problem whatsoever, and that's not common. So I really need to see both teams, especially from the defense, pay a little bit more attention to the plane itself, especially up top. It's just the zone of control that you get from not just being inside the hole, but of course being able to go from wing to wing allows you to shut down any offensive play so darn quickly. So that needs to be, I think, an adjustment overall. But for now, Liberty, with 2 opening kills and a 2-1 lead, looking to potentially find a 3-1 by locking down this next offense.
Again, we're seeing how players are just running around freely on the map. No one picking up the lanes. That time it was Free who's picking up a few kills. The point, again, being captured here at B. Very unorthodox play style we've seen from both of these teams to go for B first. Now, though, Sexton realizing the attention's been drawn away. He's going to go to A. He's got a teammate here in Free up front. He's going to fall to Bean. Freak up top, maintaining the plane control. He's got a teammate there with him. So important as we talk about these power positions. The contest at A coming through. Shots not in favor of Sexton. The defense doing a good job to keep the ticks off. One more player to deal with. Bean has got it under his belt. And all of a sudden, this round starts to get to a slow point where Liberty Navy have to think about where they want to go.
There's no mid-map control right now, though, for High Point, and Liberty can have the opportunity to, again, get more reinforcements through. The only challenge that's available for High Point is to try to work their way either from the front or desperately underneath the plane to go into the plane itself. And I'm a bit surprised that Sexton wasn't actually trying to play for wing control, because from that top wing by A, you can lock down that entire rotation just outside the containers. It would force the defense to have to hit you through that inner A lane, and that really wasn't being watched. So maybe a bit of a missed opportunity, but for High Point, they take advantage. Now they just have to kill off 30 more seconds worth of time.
30 seconds left. Looking for a capture here. If you're Liberty Navy, up 2-1 would be the closeout round as the kill feed lights up in blue and white. Both teams trading lives back and forth, and you see the players coming off spawn for Liberty Navy. They have to make a decision here of where they want to go. It looks like the push will be to A. High Point set up, ready for it here. And number 1, that's Simpaha finding a kill. Bean there as well. Okay, Kearns able to find something, but Dewey instantly there for the trades. It just feels like so difficult for Liberty to get anything going right now. In the final 5 seconds, all High Point have to do is keep them off the point. We should be headed to a map 5, but Brewing on the point. Contest comes through. Simpaha with the slide is able to get the challenge.
Stack.
The point at B now going on. It's back and forth here as they switch points. Free over at B, finding 1 kill. Simpaha trying to do his best to play defense. He finds 2. Freak trying to get this player off the point to end the round. Is he going to be able to do it? Brewing waiting, trying to waste time. He's got some support. And all of a sudden, this one's not over just yet. Liberty Navy doing anything they can to keep this round alive. And speaking of lives, only 2 left here for Navy. High Point's going to be able to hang on to win the round. It got a little interesting towards the end, but unable to do it. We'll head to round 5.
Yeah, it's one of those things that now that we're getting into through the 4th round, I'm starting to recognize what exactly our teams are doing. It's a little bit of everyone just hard focusing towards the control zones. You know, we're coming off of spawn and we're just running to make sure we can get to A. and we're just running to make sure we can get to B offensively. It's just a lot of this full stack run at it. Let's see if we can get there. And not a lot of what we see at the high level, which is, all right, clear zone A first. Cool, we did that. Let's go down to the second zone, clear zone B. Cool, we've done that. And now let's go to the third zone, which is like in that plane to where we can actually make a hit towards either of these two control points. It's just been a lot of, we're coming out of spawn, we're going to try to full flood to get control of something. And that can lead to some very interesting interactions, of which we just saw there near the end with their triple stack for Liberty Navy on that B zone, nearly resulting in an opportunity to extend the clock an extra 60 seconds. But now you have Bean for High Point, push through the plane defensively. He can read where all of these offensive members off spawn are going to be coming to, and he can also help, not just over towards B, but also on these long crossing angles to A, and he's read the play. It is going to be an A zone hit for Liberty Navy.
Receiving word from behind the scenes as well that a little bit of a codcaster issue going on here where both of these teams are actually opposites. So Liberty Navy is over on the left side and High Point on the right side. The team names just are in the wrong spots, so maybe take that into account. But it is round 5 either way, and winner take all here in this map 3. See the offense doing their best to try to get over to A, but it's Freak who's holding things down. Diamati coming through, not going to work. Free picks up the kill onto him. Now Simpaha for the trade. Another player at the front side is Dewey finding a kill. So that'll slow things down at A for the time being. And we look at the life count. It's pretty even, 20 to 20 about right now. Kearns with the challenge onto Dewey is not going to happen. Defense holding strong here in this final round. You got to get a point on the offensive side to extend this one. Sexton with a couple up top. Make it 3 underneath. Freak's fair for the trade. He's going to take some shots, though. He's going to fall. That's a huge kill, absolutely, as you can start to push onto both zones.
Well, look at what High Point has to do. They have to come out of spawn and essentially flood into the 2 different choke points. And fortunately, they actually win a couple of kills over by A, so that'll alleviate a lot of the pressure. Still 35 seconds on the clock. Not going to be stalled for the moment, as Liberty have to kind of give control of these control points for now and try to work their way through. And you do have 2 members that are in and around this plane. You need to win this gun v1 if you're Brewing, not able to secure the gunfight. So now all of a sudden, High Point have a bit more seniority over that middle area specifically. It's just one more player who's trying to contest this. Sexton trying to make his way over to A, but look at the map. High Point's full stack. They can hit this from the side and get a lot of nice, easy crossing angles. It just comes down to, can you get on and touch this in time? Because there goes the second tick of progress.
The crossfire has to come through. They start to get onto the point. Bean finds one. Here come the challenges. Brewing's able to get one as well. Kill feed goes blue, so that's a good sign for Liberty Navy. They get all 4 here, and they will, without a doubt, be able to capture A. That extends the round. You look at the lives, 9 to 8, still have 1 point to deal with, or you could play the kills with 1 minute and 15 seconds to go, but 2 players already here for a stack. Make it 3. This is going to start to go pretty quickly here. High Point have to get on the point. Simpaha first one to do it, able to find a couple. Brewing there, though, for the trades, and now it's all of a sudden in favor of Liberty Navy. This could be the moment here to do it. The kills coming through. 5 lives left for High Point. It's going to be difficult, but you have to make sure you can get these players off the point. Do not want to lose it here. Sexton was pushed up deep into the spawn. He's going to fall. Capture coming through. Final tick of progress is all that's needed. Freak finding 2 kills on the point. Freeze there for the trade. 4v3 situation. Final lives for both of these squads. You see Sexton moving up, inching his way forward. Doesn't get the sight line onto Dewey there, so he's going to push through the plane. This could definitely work out to be a benefit. This point starts to get captured from Kearns, but the kills come through, and it's all up to Sexton here in a 1v3. Has time to work with. He's finding the first kill onto Simpaha, but the second and High Point hang on to win it in 3 maps. But I'm actually realizing maybe Liberty Navy won that one because we had the codcaster issue. So Liberty actually able to win it, and this one is a back against the wall match. This series not over just yet. We'll head to a second hard point.
That is a colossal mistake. I mean, you're in a 7v5 to start, 4v3 at the end. When you're in the 7v5, just play for trades. Every kill you get, you know the defense is going to be spawning way out in Narnia, then go isolate the second. They don't do that. That's a missed opportunity, I would say, largely the fact that you've got numbers. All you have to do is play for trades. Just run the map as a collective 4 stack, get a kill, or find a way to get that early trade, and you win the game off of that. There's plenty of time overall. So a bit of a mistake, I would say, through and through, just at the very last moments, but again, I don't want to nitpick too hard because that was a very competitive checkmate control overall. Again, I thought a lot of it was very flood heavy, but near the end, once we started getting towards those low lives, that's when you started to see, I think, the tempo and pace that probably should have been there from the get-go. You know, clear your zones, make sure you're able to find trades, make sure you're taking away the power positions. that was kind of missing, I think, for a lot of it. But regardless, a very entertaining match overall.
Yeah, not a lot much more we could ask for as
No, not at
spectators
all.
there. It goes down a couple offenses traded, teams winning offenses and defenses. Really great stuff. And for Liberty Navy, they're able to extend this series a little bit longer here. It's not over just yet. We go to a second hard point after the first three checkmates. We'll finish with 2 Moscows if we need that final map. And when we look over here at the records on Moscow right now, 2-0 for Liberty. On the high point side of things, you have to expect that it's right there in that same category. We saw them pick up that first map win. What might have to change here, Alan, on this second hard point for Liberty if they want to extend this to a game 5?
Look, it's hard to get a full read on what was going wrong with their hard point in map number 1 because we had a tight back and forth affair until Dewey unfortunately lagged out. So it's kind of hard to give a full read as far as we saw this, so that means they need to do that. I'm just largely looking at the timings overall here because this is another map, kind of like Checkmate, where it's all about spawn manipulation. Can you force your opponents to spawn in the exact worst case scenario? You're looking at that rotation from the front of police over to library. If you can get them to spawn behind that second hard point when you need to be rotating for 3, it makes life so much easier for you. So this map at the beginning of the year, I remember very largely saying that we get one of two things. Either there's a team that's 120-0, or we've got a trade of like a handshaking 60 seconds between squads. At this level, I expect that that will still mostly be the case. Now, that said, both teams have showcased and executed on some really nice decision making when it matters most. So maybe I'll be a bit short sighted by saying that right now, but I'm hoping that we do get another tight affair like we had in the checkmate. A lot of it was just down to this is a bad situation for us. How do we recover? And a lot of those recovery moments were very well executed for both of our teams. So I think this one largely comes down to whoever is going to have to recover less often will likely be in a spot to find some favor to put this map away. Easy John Madden statement. If they just score more points, they'll win, right?
Can't go wrong with John Madden, one of the all-time greats. Is You're right. I mean, we go into a second hard point, and in the first one, it felt like they were kind of just trading punches back and forth. Same thing in the search and destroy goes to round 11, and then in control goes to round 5. So really, just a tightly contested matchup here between both of these squads. Really looking forward to what they put out in the Moscow. We just played 3 checkmates. Now we go to 2 Moscows, and I think for hardpoint, we often talk about the rotations and how important it is. But I think to get even more specific, the timing of your rotations a lot of times is crucial. Where
Yeah.
on a map like Raid, where there's cross map rotations, you're going from garage to basketball. Now on Moscow, you go from that PD area all the way over to P3 on the other side. There's some pretty long distance rotations again. How do you look at the timing of some of those rotations, Alan, and how important it can be on a map like Moscow, where you can spawn your opponent out pretty far if
Yeah.
you mess with those rotations a bit?
It's not as much about I think maybe I misspoke a little bit. It's not so much about the timings all the time as it is about the routes. You have to keep in mind that these hard points move in essentially counterclockwise fashion. You start in the middle, you go over to the right, you go up the noon and around over towards where 9 o'clock is, then you go right back down over towards like 7 o'clock, and then you come right back in again. It's all kind of counterclockwise. And the one thing that we see a lot of teams struggle with when it comes to this map is not cutting the middle of the map when you're making those kind of circular rotations. If you can just cut that diameter in half and just run across the middle, you can outpace your opponent from getting to hard point, and it makes the spawns a little bit more interesting, especially as you get over towards that 4th hill, where, to be fair, there really isn't a favored set of spawns that you have. You're largely either spawning over by bank or over towards the street. Both are relatively successful when it comes to being able to actually generate score. It just comes down to when do you want each of those spawns. And some of that comes down to not just the timing of when you're moving, but the route of which you're taking to try to get from point to point. Because if you take a long route, you could get cut off very, very quickly, and it leaves you very one-dimensional. So I'm hoping that our teams will be pretty aware of that, and they'll start to showcase some of that mid-map execution, especially if you're running an SMG. The last thing I want to see is an SMG player rotating around the backside of Statue by Eskies, and then again, all the way from P4 down the street. If they can stay inside that middle metro, get inside a gold, cut the Eskies stairs, that's where SMGs find the most amount of value in my mind.
We've seen the gunnies, what these guys can do in terms of shooting straight, but do they have the IQ to bring it all together? And if you're just joining us, High Point University Purple are able to grab the first 2 maps, Liberty keeping things alive with the win there on the control. And now we head to a Moscow hardpoint if we need it. It'll be a Moscow search and destroy as well. And as just to continue to paint the picture, High Point 9-0 coming into this matchup. They don't want to get that first loss of the year. And
No.
We talked about it at the start too, the fact that they were struggled to win any games last season, and all of a sudden
Barely
turning it
won any
around.
maps.
Yeah, to win any maps, they turn it around with a chip on their shoulder. They add Sexton, who definitely has had a pretty solid series so far in this one, and it's just been night and day. Now they find themselves 9-0. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, and just talking largely about the format again, we're in the last moments here when it comes to this first split. In the second split, it's a bit shorter than the first, but you don't play the same team twice. So the top of each of the divisions will be matched up into a top cut and bottom cut. So for teams like High Point, Liberty, Old Dominion, they're all pretty much safe and ready to go in the top part of their division B. But on the other side, these are the teams that they'll be playing up against. Concord Maroon, Penn State, and beyond that, you also have New Hampshire, who have been playing all right, or New Haven rather, not New Hampshire. But the Concord Maroon team and Penn State team are nasty. So yeah, you're feeling good at 9-0 if you're High Point. You're at 7-1 if you're Liberty Navy. You're feeling pretty positive about how the division has gone. You would love to take this win here. But on the other side, in Division A, you've got two very highly rated teams in the top 25 right now that are waiting for you. So the little things that are kind of keeping you from winning maps against a team like Old Dominion or JCSU or even a High Point or Liberty, depending on other teams that are in the division, you have to polish those things up pretty quick, because to get into the playoffs, you got to finish into the top of your overall cut of your region. And you've got two very strong teams on the other side of this division. So you need to be able to polish those kind of little nuances up, because Concord, Marin, and Penn State are not going to make those same mistakes versus you.
Appreciate the explanation, and it's going to heat up once this split takes place, but sounds like we might be taking a little bit to get the lobby going, so we'll take a very short break here on the College COD stream. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll see if Liberty Navy can force this thing to a map 5. We'll be right back after the short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed that little break. Maybe grab some water, grab a snack, but we're here on Moscow, Mother Russia, is where this fourth map will take place. We got High Point pushing onto the initial hill here, and it's going to be a contest off the start, but can someone pick up the kills here to try to get some points on P1 before the rotation to P2? Simpaha putting shots down. Already grabs one kill. Brewing, though, doing a job with the finesse here to keep this contest alive, waiting for some support from his teammates. Instead, he's going to take the challenge himself. He finds one, so now you start to see some points come through for High Point, but as we know, the rotation to P2 is really what's important.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see what the Panthers want to do as far as which route they take. So far, they've made their way through yellow pretty nicely. Freak is here to try to pick it up, and he does find a nice elimination to make sure that that does get penalized, as far as not just losing the rotation, but also keeping yourself short numbers on the hard point means that Liberty Navy can actually try to aggress a little bit and maybe generate a bit of score, but any attempts at that will be denied. And once again, High Point in a position to where now finally in the last couple of seconds of the hard point, they have not just won the hill, but they've gotten enough players forward to actually flip Liberty Navy around. And with the second hard point opening up, High Point in a great position, up 25 points, looking to get the initial time locked down in our second hill.
Big kills there on the rotation, puts them in a good spot here for another solid hold as the kill feed continues to stay white. Sexton finding another. And now 35 seconds already ticking through for Hardpoint. It should be more as the spawn's pretty distant for Liberty Navy. They try to hit these routes. It's one of the hills where you have to start thinking about the next one so early. I know there's still 30 seconds left, but I'm sure it's in the back of everybody's mind. Here comes the challenge from Free. Not going to happen onto Simpaha. Still, though, the clock just continues to tick along here. High Point already up to a 60-point lead. And now we see it with this full layout. Players starting to rotate back towards the library.
And Liberty have chalked this completely. I mean, it's one of those things that's a tough decision, because you're in a point where you're not going to really be able to break the hard point. But can you maybe commit a member or two to try to make sure that High Point's exit is contested, or the scrap time is at least somewhat finessed? Not the case for Liberty. They decided to just completely chalk it all the way together. 25 seconds of what was left when they made that decision, and they set themselves up for initial time, of which High Point get a free exit from the hard point at second, and now they're actually in a position to largely deny some space. And oh boy, unfortunately, Simpaha has got flak jacket on, because otherwise that would have been a candidate for Had Bad next week.
Tough nade is the hold, though, still intact. Kills continue to come through. That's going to be a clean 4 sweep. They maintain the spawns. You see it there. High Point having to make the long run here. Sexton will be the first one who falls. And this is a solid hold right now. Bringing yourself back into this game if you're Liberty Navy. You still got a few kills to deal with and maybe start to focus that rotation. But that's what you needed to get yourself back in this one a little bit.
Remember what we said at the top of Moscow, how this one kind of formed at the very beginning of the year. It was either 120-0 or we're handshaking 60s. This time we're essentially handshaking 60s. The only difference between the scores right now is the fact that High Point did take those 25 seconds, remember, on the first hill. So essentially 40-20s traded when it comes to the second and third hard point, and now we've got ourselves back over towards the bus on the boulevard. Liberty doing a really nice job of making sure they lock down the bank, and they're also contesting gold. So this could be a multifaceted hit to try to break this hill, but maybe easier said than done because the Panthers inside are doing a nice job of bunkering things up as Free finds himself a couple of kills.
Trying to make it 3. The Diamati not going to make it happen. Dewey in a very important spot now as his teammate starts to spawn out, trying to maintain some control on this hill. He gets some support. Still, though, the stack here for High Point. They continue to tick up the clock. Kills, though, still coming through. Dewey trying to do his best. He's got a player laying down behind the car. He's unable to get anything to happen there, but the long routes from his teammates are going to be huge. The backside being able to find 3. That'll push the final 15 seconds in favor of his squad. Head into another set of rotations, down by about 60 points. And I think just the rotation to P2 probably has to be a little better here for Liberty Navy after this setup on P1. But that's definitely helpful to get that final 15 seconds as we start the second set of rotations. Sexton continues here, 8 and 9.
They really didn't get any time on that fourth hill. I mean, they came into it at about like 43. They exited with 49. So they really didn't do nearly as much as they could have. High Point technically wins that fourth hill from the front overall. Liberty Navy's in a position now to actually lock some good time here in Metro. But like you mentioned, you have to make sure you're winning this rotation over to the second hard point. Again, the timing is not just everything. It's also the routes that you take, because High Point broke this second hill setup in the last 8 seconds of the first hill by just getting enough kills to the middle of the map and forcing the hard point spawns that are still in effect because the first hill is still open to actually be what essentially wins them the rotation. So now we take a look once more. You've got 2 players in High Point that are all the way back in the police station and 2 more through the boulevard. And it's going to be 3 straight kills. Liberty Navy spawning top left. They will once again lose this initial route getting over towards the second hill.
Clean sweep comes through for High Point, and they're able to read the elevator spawns. Now we get into this rotation to P2, and the setup is already in place for the Panthers. This should be another solid hold if they can keep it up. First kill from Sexton is there. Brewing watching this lobby push. Is going to see Simpaha, but the shots are better on the other side. 2 headshots from Simpaha, and a melee from Bean. Should be a wide opening here for Liberty. Have to just get that final kill, but the spawns come through for High Point. Are they able to continue to funnel towards the hill? Brewing's able to find one. Now pushing up the steps. Going to have 2 players to deal with. Second kill is there. Brewing with the finesse. Going to get shut down by Simpaha, but he has teammates there in support. Final 25 seconds is up for grabs. High Point's here for the time being, but there's a few players to deal with. One benefit that they can take away from it, though, is that we'll see where this spawn comes through. They are set up for the rotation, so it's somewhat of a good death there at the end.
No, it's not bad. And that's what I mean when I talked about the last time around where Liberty decided not to even try to send anyone to finesse the old time. High Point does. Now, granted, the spawn kind of forced them to make that play overall. But the fact of the matter is you get somebody there to try to contest that scrap time. And look at what it does to Liberty Navy. They're all over the map right now. And to be fair, because the second hill was still active, a couple of the Panther members will spawn away from this natural spawn by the library. But Kearns has to do what he can to stay alive in the back. He does read one more, finds that elimination. Now, all of a sudden, members in white on the minimap are here to try to help.
Kearns was in a big spot. He finally would go down. Free is the next one up, trying to hold off these pushers from spawn. 36 seconds still to go on this hill. It's in favor of High Point right now. Brewing has a few things to deal with. As a player pushes him from elbow, we'll find that. Has a player on the opposite side in the contest spot. Unable to pick up that kill. Liberty doing a somewhat good job here. Sexton, though, will be the next one to try to make something happen. Simpaha playing his life and getting the kill with the Diamati. 15 seconds still up for grabs, and it looks like Liberty will grab it. Now another set of rotations over towards that street side, but Free's not allowing it to happen. He finds one. Freak's able to grab the trade, and it's a 1v1 at the next site here. Just at the last second, Freak was able to, or I think it was Brewing, was able to creep into Rat there, and Dewey doesn't get the eyes on him. So this got a 4v4 stack as we head into P4.
This is the game right here. Liberty Navy, if you can find a way to break and get some good time, or at least keep High Point off the hard point, you're still in this game. But if High Point come away with another 40 seconds like they did last time, this game might just very well be over. You have to do so much right if you're Liberty Navy. If you lose this hill and the initial 20 seconds, not great. They get fully bounced out. They're still going to be spawning by this front boulevard, so there is an opportunity to contest this from the front.
Liberty in a big spot, trying to extend this series to a map 5. Here we are on P4. Final 30 seconds are going to be crucial. Bean finessing by this little trash can, able to find one. He falls, and back and forth they go. High Point, though, looks like they should have a chance at this final 20 seconds, and it's Liberty Navy who are forced to play for it here because they don't want to fall behind too far before this next set of rotations. Freak doing his best, but there's just no way to get those kills. He's going to give it up. Dewey, though, maybe hiding out there, not going to be spotted. He's able to find a kill. The feed goes in favor of Liberty Navy for a second there as we get into another set of rotations. It's about a 70-point lead here that they're going to have to deal with, and it might just be too much at this point.
You need somebody to step up here for Liberty Navy. You got a number of players that, yeah, they're not playing poorly, but when you're dealing with somebody like Free, who's 26 and 21 with 45 seconds with a hard point time, that is more total kills, more total interactions, and more total hard point time than 3 of the members on Liberty Navy. So he's just doing a lot at the moment, and that means that somebody from Liberty Navy needs to start either to shut him down a bit more, or maybe step up and try to find a way to start getting some streaks, because there's really not a way in my mind that Liberty Navy can cleanly win this game unless they're just all of a sudden perfect between the second and third rotation. You've got one player in Bruin trying to make life difficult in the back for P2, and that's fine. Even if he doesn't win this rotation, it's fine. A scrap 15 seconds for Free is more than enough for High Point. It puts them ever so close to that 250 mark.
Scrap time becomes so much more important here in the latter stages of the game as the rotation to P2 again is an important battle. Sexton finding one, and the spawns should be there for High Point. Players already starting to push through from mid. It's Bean, first one up. He falls as well. And as long as they can get somebody on this point, this should be an opportunity to close it out. But how about the push to the street side? All 3 players trying to make something happen. Did Sexton spot that player who snuck behind him? It doesn't seem like he did, so it'll be 2 there. Freak, here he is in an important spot, finding one. Can he get the second? Good shots onto Currents. His teammates there to finish off that kill, and it's only Brewing last alive by the point. An opportunity here for Liberty to try to squeak their way back into this game. Do they read the spawns, though?
Great stuff from Freak to hold his respawn right there. His spawn's right on top of the hard point, and now he's here to help Liberty Navy hold on for as long as humanly possible. The full wipe will come through, but now you turn your attention. 20 seconds left. It's going to be this rotation stretching across the middle. If Brewing falls, he will likely spawn behind P2. So now it's just down to Liberty Navy to try to work through Free. He locks down the angle through benches, finds 3 kills, and yeah, you still have Brewing spawning out, but the problem here is that Liberty Navy are going to have to take a long OE hit to try to get behind this library, and they can only give up 17 more seconds before the game's over.
That huge 3-piece could be enough to seal the deal. Free has been on fire throughout this entire series. 33 and 25 on a 4-kill streak. Trying to close this thing out here. Sentry turret on top of the fountain, finding one more kill, and that is going to be enough for High Point to close out this series. They win it in 3-1 fashion. You give Liberty credit. It's a hard-fought battle there in the end, but when it came down to it, slaying power, the rotations, everything in check for High Point, and they get it done. As we watch Sexton here picking up some kills. Strong showing from both squads. I think it was just High Point who just were an extra step ahead on some of those rotations, and then the slaying power definitely in their favor.
That's why it's all about timing and what routes you're taking when you're going across the map from that front police station over to library. You go back to that first rotation worth of hills. Liberty Navy chalk 25 seconds with a scrap time, and they sit there and say, we're just going to completely fall back into the third hill, not really zone out too far forward. And the problem is, if you lose a 50-50 one-on-one, as you get High Point freely exiting over through the second hard point, all of a sudden that early rotation that you chose is amounting to nothing because you're still spawning behind the second hard point. Whereas if you try to play a little bit further forward and you're playing for exits, even if you still spawn behind P2, you've got teammates that can actually get there and maybe help you break up that last 20 seconds with a scrap time. Then also you go over to the 4th hard point overall. Again, I want to say Liberty came into that first set of rotations on that 4th hill at about 43 total points. They left the P4 and the first rotation with 49. So even though they were staying kind of scrappy, they didn't do enough to actually win any time on that 4th hard point. And in my mind, those 2 points were the big difference makers of why High Point were able to win this 4th map.
In the end, High Point, the Panthers, able to maintain their undefeated record thus far. They moved to 10-0. Liberty down to 7-1. Definitely a hard-fought battle from the Navy side there. Just High Point coming out on top. But don't go anywhere. We're going to head to a break. When we come back, we're handing it off to McCorn Meal and Morgan. They are going to be riding you through here as it comes up to KSU Black and UTK Orange in our next matchup. Like I say, you're not going to want to go anywhere for this. We'll be right back after a short break.